Am I live? Hello, everybody. Cliff Ravenscraft here, coming to you live from the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, out on the back deck of my parents' lake house down here on Lake Douglas, which is in Sevierville, Tennessee, just outside of the Smoky Mountain National Forest. And super excited to be down here and have the opportunity to get away for what is a 3 week personal creative retreat. When Stephanie suggested that this would be something that could be a possibility for me to go away for 3 weeks all by myself, I'm like, that's interesting. I don't know that I would have thought of that on my own. I remember uh, when I went away for 10 days to New Zealand without Stephanie. I felt a little bit weird about the idea of having so much time doing something that I would love, that I would enjoy, and leaving her at home. And one of the things that I love about the relationship that Stephanie and I have had, I think we've been married 28 years now. And one of the things that I love about our relationship is that we both really enjoy time alone. And the interesting thing is, I enjoy traveling. I enjoy going out on trips. I enjoy going to destinations and experiencing new environments. Stephanie enjoys being a homebody. She enjoys curling up on the couch with our dog in her lap and a book in her lap and reading. And so, it's like she's like, "Hey, I could have a 3 week personal retreat here at the house. You could get away and have your new environment and refresh and renew and all of that stuff." And so that's what she had suggested probably about 8 or 9 weeks ago. And then we looked at the dates in the calendar, and she's like, "Well, you could probably leave the day after Christmas and come back on January 16th because we've got plans to go to Les Mis at the Arnolf Theater in Cincinnati on January 17th. So as long as you're back before then we're fine." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let me see if I can work out all the other details." Everything fell perfectly into place. And today is officially day one of my second week down here at the lake house. So as I get ready to reflect on what have I experienced during my first week, that's one of the things that I'm going to do in this live stream. And another thing that I'm going to do is share with you some expectations of what I am hoping to and anticipating getting out of the remaining 2 weeks that I'm down here. And also during this live stream, I'm hoping that there'll be some of you who are actually able to receive this live stream, and maybe you'll put a comment in one of the comment sections, either on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, and I might be able to interact with you. D-Lynn is here. She says, let me see if I can figure out how to get this thing here to work. She says, "That sounds like an amazing adventure." Thank you, D-Lynn. It is absolutely an amazing adventure and one I'm thrilled to be on. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for stopping by the live stream. And of course, letting me know that you're able to hear me. The other thing that I want to do is I want to go and I'm going to open up this YouTube and make sure it's working. So moderation helps everyone feel safe. Well, I don't have any moderators, but hopefully people will behave themselves. Let's see if this is coming through in the audio. Let me know that you're able to. Oh, wow, that sounds really good. I'm actually shocked at how well that actually sounds. Inside the house, it's there's a lot of echo, hardwood floors and stuff like that, and I'm like, well, I brought my high LPR 40, come out here to record some podcast episodes, and we'll see how the audio sounds. But yeah, let me just turn this up one more time. Oh, wow, that sounds really good. Yeah, that is really good audio. And I'm looking at the video quality on YouTube. It looks fantastic as well. But anyway, I'm glad to see that this is working on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and close YouTube because Ecamm Live is the software that I'm using, and they should show me any comments that anyone makes on YouTube Live. You've already confirmed that this is working on Facebook. I appreciate that. And I just want to see which of these two live streams might be the one that it actually, because it created two events. And I don't know if I should mess around and delete one right now. I'm not going to play with that. I know that Facebook is streaming live, and I'm not going to do anything to mess that up. Now, I am going to go into LinkedIn real quick because Ecamm Live, the software, does not bring the comments in when I'm live. So I have confirmed before I left, I was doing some testing, and I have pulled up my LinkedIn browser on my iPad over here, and I can see comments if anybody's watching on LinkedIn. In fact, if you are watching on LinkedIn, would you mind leaving me a comment just to confirm that I'm able to see that without doing a refresh on the screen? That would be helpful. And yeah, so let me share one thing with you. I had set up just to give you a little view of what I'm able to see here. I don't want that. Let's click over to the mountains. So that right there, oh, there you go. There's English Mountain in the background. So this is what I am currently looking out at. Now, this is Lake Douglas. It is a man-made lake that was built, I think, in 1943. And it was originally the French Broad River that came through here. And they decided to build a dam that would provide flood control and hydroelectricity to the area. And so in the course of 1 year, they built the dam, and they also built they moved everything that needed to be moved and tested the ability for the land to retain the water to create this man-made lake. I think there's like 560 some odd miles of shoreline. It's a massive lake. And right now, during the winter months, they drop the water levels. As you can see from the picture here, you're viewing and by the way, it almost looks like a photo, but that is a live view of English Mountain in the background, by the way. But what you are seeing there, the dirt mounds, are actually the bed of the lake in the summertime. So the highest of those, I would say, mounds, those dirt mounds, would be about 6 to 10 feet underwater during the spring and summer. And basically, they reduce the water for power management for their hydroelectricity, but also mainly because of the flooding waters that come in the spring. They choose to let out a ton of the water during the wintertime, so that when the spring rains come and the mountains just start flooding, it just fills this lake right up, and then they use the dam to manage that. Alrighty, so let me switch back over to me. You can still see a little bit of the mountain range. That's English Mountain in the background there. And by the way, thank you, Troy Price. Troy has now confirmed for me that YouTube's comments are coming through. He says, I'm messaging you from YouTube. Look and sound great. Thank you so much, Troy. I appreciate you. By the way, if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to post them. By the way, something happened over here, and okay, DJ Eshelman says nice, and let me click join live, and I don't know why that went away, but DJ, if you're still there, if you wouldn't mind saying something else in the chat, I'd like to see if it pulls up. Somehow, I had exited out of the live stream, and I did not mean to do that. By the way, today's live stream, my setup was in the thumbnail, if any of you saw it, and if not, after the live stream, you could see the thumbnail. But I am using my MacBook Pro right now, sitting up on a box. It's elevated up a little bit on a Ticket to Ride game box. And I have an Insta360 Link webcam. It's a 4K webcam, although I think I'm probably transmitting in 1080p in most locations. Yeah, I'm transmitting 1080p. So I'm using the Insta360 Link web camera for my video source. My audio, of course, I'm speaking into a Heil PR40 microphone, which is plugged into a Rodecaster Pro 2 off to my left. If I decided to impromptu take live calls and have people call me via Zoom, I could do that. And I happen to have my headphones standing by so that I'd be able to hear that. Yeah, this is my setup. And kind of excited about it. All right, so no other comments have been posted. Again, if anybody has any questions or comments about anything, feel free to post into the comments on any of the platforms. I should be able to see those. All right, so as I said, this is day 1 of week 2. And in many ways, not in all ways, in many ways, this would be technically the first true day that allows me to experience what I had envisioned I might be able to do when I came down to Tennessee, when I came down to the mountains. You see, when Stephanie had made the suggestion that I come down and have this experience, I envisioned this solitude all by myself, waking up early in the morning, being very intentional about setting some new routines, being very intentional with how I choose to use each moment of each day, making that an easy decision as possible because, quite frankly, there's no habitual hypnotic routine that my subconscious mind has said, oh, I've got this. You're in this place. We'll go into this mode. We go over here. We do these things. And back at home, one of the things that I recognize is that over the last several years, I've created neuro associations. Just means there's links in my brain that when I'm in this environment, at this desk, in front of these monitors, in front of these tools and resources, this work is the type of work that I do. And I benefited greatly from the idea of getting out of that environment and starting my early morning routine and driving off to Planet Fitness and sitting behind the gym in the parking lot, getting a lot of work done. And if any of you have been following my content for many years, you know that I could go to the gym and sit in the back parking lot from as early as 5 o'clock in the morning, and it might be as late as 9 o'clock in the morning before I actually go into the gym to work out. And I have always enjoyed those hours sitting in that back parking lot because very similarly, there were no routines and habits related to anything other than the established habits or routines that I wanted to participate in the morning. And what I mean by that is every morning I want to wake up early. I want to spend some time in meditation and prayer. I want to spend time journaling. I I want to take some time to read and study for my personal growth. And I just want that early morning to really be about just setting the tone for my day and not necessarily for the purpose of anything other than just establishing time for me. And those first few hours of the day are incredibly valuable. And I go through seasons where sitting in that back parking lot at Planet Fitness, it does it for me because it's there. And I have learned that it is seasons. I have gone there and it works, and I'm like, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden I notice that over time I start to get those creative gears kicked in. It's like, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do this. And before I know it, I'm bringing more equipment. I'm packing up my high LPR40 and my Rodecaster Pro, and I'm like, I could get the start of my day, my work day started here. Let me get that started. And before you know it, I'm not really, I'm not there for the same reasons I once was. And neuro associations could get started are connected. It's like, oh, I'm at the gym. Let's get to work on that outline for that next podcast episode. Let's write that next email for the email list. Let's work on this marketing message for this product that I'm marketing for folks. And yeah, it can turn into some routines and habits that my subconscious mind automatically creates a hypnotic rhythm that, oh, you're here, let's do this. And so then I need to break out of that. And I'll do this. I'll find that it works for several weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 7 weeks, sometimes a couple of months. And then it's like, okay, what can I do to shake things up again? And well, that's what I'm here to do, because I needed to shake some things up. It seemed like at home, there were just so many rhythms and routines that were established. And quite frankly, what what got me to where I am is not going to get me to where I want to go next, or where I feel called to go next, or for what I want to create next in my life. In fact, there's some level of question of, do I want to shift? Do I want to expand in my mind what's possible for me to create moving forward? Those are questions that I'd like to have access to. Or well, I have access to the questions, but I'd like to get out of the normal routine and rhythm, and outside of the same environment that my subconscious mind and my hypnotic rhythm wants to keep me inside of a box of doing the same thing because it's what I feel comfortable with. It's like, no, let me go away and get this creative inspiration from the mountains. I didn't bring the T-shirt out here. Maybe I'll bring it out another time. It is, by the way, it is super cold out here. It's 36 degrees out on this back porch, but I definitely wanted to come out here because I felt like it would give a much better audio quality to the setup here. And I just wanted to see and test and think about how things would work out. So, but when I came down, I thought, lots of solitude. There's absolutely no habits or rhythms here. Everything's going to be intentional. It's going to be a conscious choice. And that's how things are going to be. And that's what I had envisioned. I would have 3 weeks of this. Well, my first 4 days were not like that at all. But also, I knew it coming into it. So what I just shared with you, the whole idea that this would be 3 weeks of just what I'm able to experience over these next 2 weeks, that's when I first envisioned this. However, when I finally worked out the details, I talked to my parents, say, hey, do you mind if I go down and just stay for 3 weeks? And it's like, no, not at all. They said, hey, we were thinking about going down for the weekend anyway, and we can hang out for a couple of days. Matthew, my son, had been invited to come down with them to do some bowling in Knoxville. So he was planning on coming down, and I'm like, oh, well, this is great. It works out. It works out perfect. They're going to be down here during the first 4 days of my 3 weeks, and I'd hang out with them. That's going to be amazing. And then right after they leave, I'll get to work. So what has happened is I got down here. I left I left on Thursday. Is that right? Yeah, I left on Thursday. And so day one of my retreat was kind of just a personal time for my own recreation and relaxation. So for those that don't know this, I got very heavily involved into amateur radio, ham radio. This is where you talk to people all over the world using radio waves, the electromagnetic signals that I bounce off of the ionosphere, and talk to people all over the globe. It's a lot of fun. And there's this activity called Parks on the Air. And I was doing Parks on the Air, several different parks on my drive down. So it would typically be about a 4.5 to 5, maybe 5.5 hour drive to get here. So maybe it's closer to 5 to 6 hours to get here. Anyway, it took me about 9 to 10 hours to get here because I stopped at several different parks on the way down. These are state parks and wildlife management areas and just National Historic Registry kind of stuff. And I stopped at a couple parks and did what's called a Parks on the Air activation. And then I got in late Thursday evening and pretty much just called it a night. Then Friday, which was day 2 of my retreat, my parents were driving down that afternoon. They left at 1 o'clock and got in around 5:30. So I had most of that day to myself. And here's what I thought. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to go straight into work mode because this is a personal, creative, working retreat. This is a working retreat for me. The whole purpose is for me down here. Not the whole purpose. The main purpose for me down here is to do things related to work, to be inspired about the work that I do, to come up with creative ideas about my messaging and all sorts of things related to work. However, there's also a lot of recreation and restoration and just personal enjoyment that I want to mix in throughout the entire of the 3 weeks. But I knew that the first few days would be heavily on the recreation and relaxation and restoration kind of side. So I decided, okay, my parents and my son are not going to get down here until Friday evening around 6 o'clock. So I figured I know what I'll do. I want to go up to Newfound Gap, right at in the middle of the Smoky Mountains National Forest, and I want to do Parks on the Air. And so I woke up that morning, I got everything packed up into the car to be able to go do this. And I got all the way to Newfound Gap. And as soon as I pulled into the parking lot, I heard the park ranger who had his lights on, his blue lights flashing. And I heard him speaking through the loudspeaker under his hood, making announcement to people who were out there walking around. And I couldn't tell what he was saying, but it seemed pretty important. So I parked my car and I walked up to where the police officer was. And I said, "Did you recently just make an announcement? Is there something I should know?" He goes, "Yeah, due to the high winds that are being forecasted, we're going to be shutting down the road in 45 minutes. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And they were predicting winds of upwards to 95 miles per hour up there. So it would be quite dangerous. So wind gusts, I should say. So I got up there and I set up my radio stuff just for 45 minutes, made my contacts and did my activation. And I'm like, okay, this is fair enough. I didn't get to set up my Starlink Mini, which I had purchased for radio activation and other various activities that I want to be able to do on the fly. So, and I'll get into more in the Starlink Mini in just a moment. But so I didn't get to pull that out. I'm like, okay, I don't have enough time to set up the Starlink Mini. I don't have a very good connection to cellular at all. It's like one bar and it's in and out at Newfound Gap. And through the rest of the forest, there's just no signal. So I'm like, okay, let me just do my radio stuff. 45 minutes later, they're chasing everybody out of the area and you have to head out of the park. So I drove down and I stopped at what's called the Newfound, or not the Newfound, it's the Gatlinburg bypass. And there was an overlook, one of these scenic pull-offs that you can overlook Gatlinburg and you can see the Smoky Mountains off in the distance. And I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. And so I'm like, okay, they're not going to close this road down. Ironically, it was still very windy even at the bottom of the mountains. And I decided, well, at least I can play around with my Starlink and see if I can get it up and running. Now, another little story here that I experienced is that a couple of weeks ago, I had ordered, let me see if this is still on. I've got a heated blanket in my lap to keep me warm. Anyway, I had ordered a Starlink Mini so that I could have access to the internet for things that I do for amateur radio when I'm traveling around the state of Kentucky, I have a goal that I want to activate every park that's listed in the database for parks on the air in the state of Kentucky. And there have been a number of times when I've made it to like my third or fourth park of the day, and I haven't seen a cellular connection in several hours. And I'm like, oh, I now need to figure out what's the directions to this next place. Now, of course, I could get maps and do all of that stuff, but there it would also be nice to have internet access. And I had a budget for radio equipment, and I'm like, Starlink Mini. I think it was $449 on sale during Black Friday, and I went ahead and bought it. And I figured $50 a month, and you can cancel it anytime. There's no contract. Just each month that you want to use it, pay $50. You got 50 gigs of data, or $1 per gigabyte over. And I'm like, that sounds doable. And so I went ahead and ordered that for those activities. And then when I started thinking about coming down to the Smoky Mountains, I'm like, oh, this will make it even nicer. Now, I happen to have T-Mobile, and we have a good 5G signal right here at the lake house. And anywhere I go in the house, I've got a good 5G signal. I got unlimited data on my phone, but I do have a 5G cap, a 5 gigabyte cap on my hotspot. And so I was using my hotspot for a lot of activities back when I was sitting in the back parking lot of Planet Fitness, as I was mentioning earlier. So as a result of that, I'm like, oh, well, this would work for that occasion as well. I could just throw my Starlink Mini up on top of the car at Planet Fitness, and I could be working away. I could do live streams. There's a lot of crazy places I would like to live stream from. And out at some of these parks is some of them, not just for amateur radio related stuff, but just personal reflections from whatever. I love to just share my experiences and see if anybody happens to come along as I'm doing a live stream and see if they have any interest in engaging with what I'm sharing my experiences are. Maybe you comment. By the way, I just want to invite anybody who is tuned in, if you'd like to comment, feel free to leave a comment. I should be able to see you anywhere. I'm just confirming I'm doing, oh my gosh. There has been lots of new comments on on LinkedIn, and it did not automatically point up. So DJ says, I did a post event retreat in Dandridge near there in 2023. Dandridge is just on the other side of the lake over here. So yeah, that Dandridge is right down the road. Let's see here. DJ says something else in the chat. DJ says environment. So true. We decided to move my primary desk and studio upstairs to keep my study as a place to read and write specifically. There is absolutely a connection with location and what it prepares you to do mentally. Absolutely. My own experience, DJ, personally, it has been that even those scenarios, I have found value in mixing those up over time. I don't know if you found that as well, but anyway. Jonathan Gaby said hello to DJ, and DJ said to Jonathan Gaby, good to see you. And DJ says, Cliff, how long are you going to be there? A pretty significant storm is coming our way this weekend. Yeah, I heard about oh, wow, that's an interest. Is that a helicopter or a plane? Hold on, let me share with you guys what I'm seeing. Let me go over to the mountains here. And you should be able to see that. That looks like a plane. Do you guys see it? Yeah, oh, there it is. It's just now there for you. So, I don't know what that is. Interesting. It's very low, though. Do you see? Can you guys? Yeah, you guys can still see it. Wow. I've never seen anything like that before down here. It looks like one of those planes that it has the ability to land on the water. Anyway, going back to DJ's question, how long do I plan on being down here? I'm going to be down here until January 16th. And yes, I've been hearing all sorts of talk about the potential for a foot of snow and all sorts of other things. Now, our home here is on the lake, and the driveway is a very deep drive. And of course, there's lots of hills and curves to get back here. But I'm hoping that if there's snow, they will come by and plow the roads. I do know that I don't suspect that my car, or any car in general, would be able to get out of this driveway if there were snow in it. So I have decided that I'm going to keep an eye on the forecast, and if snow is forecasted overnight, or if I am seeing snow in the daytime here, I will park my car at the top of the driveway. I might even go over to a neighbor who may or may not be down here, because lots of vacation homes down here on the lake. But see if I can't park in their extra parking spot. Anyway, I'll work out all those details, but I am prepared for the possibility that I could be stuck down here. But I don't anticipate that happening. But I'm going to be here until January 16th, and I think the 6th, 7th, and 8th they're predicting some unseasonable weather is the best that I think I would say that is. All right. And then let's see here. Jonathan says, from the Smoky Mountains, no way, we were just there in Sevierville, Tennessee, holiday vacation, enjoying the views in Dollywood. Jonathan Chambers. Jonathan, yeah, I'm down here. As a matter of fact, I'm in Sevierville on Douglas Lake. So that's where I'm at. And thank you for tuning in on LinkedIn. And I don't know why I'm not getting the comments automatically, although DJ's comment about it being a drone, kidding. Yeah, that's hilarious. All right, Curtis says, let's see here, it's a beautiful spot. I love the Smoky Mountains. We usually rent a cabin for a week every year down there. My parents used to rent a cabin every year down here as well, Curtis. And I've been coming to the Smoky Mountains at least once a year, probably every year since I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I have always loved it down here. There's just something, for me personally, magical about driving through the forest, the national park. Whatever that thing is, it sounds like it's getting ready to come back out this way. And and LinkedIn just reloaded on me again. Very interesting stuff. But it does look like I should be able to keep up with everybody's comments that's coming through. Thank you so much for everyone who's commented so far. If anybody does want to engage with me, feel free to do so. All right, so where was I in my storytelling of what happened? It was still Friday of last week. I'm just hearing that plane down there. Or yeah, it, whatever it is, it's back. Hold on, let me switch over. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I just barely missed it for you guys. Actually, let me see if I can't follow it. Let's see. I can't tell where it's at right now. There it is. Yep, okay, and then should be able to see it right there. Huh. It might be a tiny little helicopter. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. But you talk about something that's out of the norm. But that's it. Let's see here. Anything else? Let me hit refresh on LinkedIn. Curtis here's some comments. Let's go to Doug. Doug says, "Hey Cliff, is that Lake Douglas?" And the answer to that question is yes. This is Lake Douglas down here in Sevierville, Tennessee. And then Curtis says, "Did you get your ICOM 7300? Yes, I did get an ICOM 7300. I left it at home So that's what I consider to be my base station at home for my amateur HF operations for amateur radio. And then I got two different Yaesu 891s, and one of them is permanently installed in my car, and the other one is a portable operations go and take out into the field setup. So, by the way, let me just share with you. My mom and dad, I don't know if they're watching this live stream or not, but they'll get a kick out of this. Let me switch things around. So I'm going to go over here and go back to the mountains. You may or may not have seen this before. Let's see here. But let's do you see this? So off of the top deck, right there is an end-fed half-wave antenna. And for those who might be listening to this in audio form, because I do share things into my Train with Cliff audio journal, I'm showing this thing that's hanging off the top deck with some string. And then there's a 130-foot wire that goes all the way down to that tree right there, down by the boat dock. That's 130 feet away. And if I zoom out, you can see a little bit of what that looks like. But yeah, so there's I want to go back here. There we go. Back to me. So I have my it is an end-fed half-wave antenna that allows me to do all the way from 10 meters to 75 or no 80 meters. I have to, if I want to use 75 meters, I actually have to put it on the tuner, and I actually have a LGD whatever tuner as well. So I have an auto tuner, and that allows me to operate. But I have an Yaesu 891 portable radio set up here at the house just in case one of my friends is activating a park and I want to make a contact or whatever. It's been a lot of fun, and yeah, I waited until my mom and dad left before I started stringing wires up in the tree. I didn't want to obstruct their view of the lake or the mountains or anything like that. So yeah, I did get an ICOM 7300. I got two Yaesu 891 radios, and I also have a Zygo G90. Curtis has the smiley face. He says water looks super low. Yep, they let the water down for the purposes of maintaining hydroelectricity for the area, and primarily they drop all of the water level down because in the spring they want to be able to have the lake and reservoir retain or have a place for all of the flood waters from the spring rains in the mountains to come into. So that's why they designed this lake, and so they designed it to for it to be a beautiful, lush recreational lake during the spring through the summer, and then they intentionally drop it down this low, and it's down about 15-20 feet from its full levels. All right, let's see here. We've got Doug says, "Yep, that's Lake Douglas. The water level gives it away." Absolutely, yeah. I used to despise the fact that I'd come down here in the non-spring/summer months and it would look like this. And then I just something shifted. It's like all of a sudden it's like, you know what? There's a unique beauty of just the way it is, and it's like it's not. I don't see it the way that I did when I first learned that they dropped the lake and it looks like this during the winter months. I used to have the same feeling about trees that would lose their leaves and everything looked dry and brown, and I don't see nature in trees during the winter that way either anymore. So a lot of things have shifted. And Sharpstein says, Cliff, I love seeing this live stream, and there's many more live streams to come. It's one of the things that I had envisioned doing a great deal more of in 2025 and beyond, getting back into some of my original love for content creation and going at it in a much different way maybe than I have in the past, or maybe returning to some of the ways that I would have done things in the past. Not so much. This stream hasn't been here like, let me share with you 5 lessons for this. And there's a place for that kind of stuff. And I will probably do some live streams related to that. But this is a very casual, here's what I've been experiencing kind of stuff. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. She says, you're one of my favorite people. Well, Ann Sharpstein, thank you so much. And you are one of my favorite people that I've had the pleasure of getting to know through the work that I do. And I don't mean those words lightly. We need to catch up. I would love to reconnect with you and chat and see how things are going, what you got planned for the new year. Archie is here. He says, hey, brother. He says, happy 2025. Happy New Year to you, Archie. It is a thrill to have you here. Let's see here. We've got more LinkedIn comments, I think. Nope, we don't. So LinkedIn, you're lagging behind. I think. Let me just make sure it's not me. Yep, it's not me. All right, so I'm all caught up on YouTube and Facebook comments, and I'm all caught up on LinkedIn. If you are watching on any of these 3 platforms, I invite you to leave me a comment. All right, so back to the story. So Friday, let me click this button here just so I can see your comment when it comes in. There we go. Okay, so Friday, I was at the overpass for Gatlinburg. And one of the things that I was telling you is about the fact that I bought a Starlink Mini when it was $449 on Black Friday. You might still be able to pick it up. By the way, if anybody's thinking about getting a Starlink Mini, there's a free month for you and a free month for me if you decide to use my referral link. So if you're ever thinking about getting a Starlink Mini, feel free to reach out to me, Cliff, at cliffravenscraft.com. I'd be delighted to send you my link. Always would love to have a free month of Starlink service. So, and I'd love to get you a free month as well. All you have to do is email me, Cliff, at cliffravenscraft.com. I'll send you my Starlink link. So here's my experience with ordering my Starlink. I ordered it, and they said it's going to be there within 3 to 5 business days. FedEx is where it was coming from. By the way, this story has nothing to do with Starlink. It has everything to do with FedEx. So FedEx said that it was going to come in 2 days. It's like, wow, that's pretty fast. It's much faster than I thought it would be. And so it said it was scheduled for delivery. And on that day, it says it should be there by 10 p.m. or whatever. By 2 p.m. And 2 p.m. came, and it says it'll be there by the end of the day. And then it didn't show up. And then it says, we'll contact you when we have a date. And this went on and off like for 3 or 4 more days. And eventually it was like 5 to 7 days. And I don't remember where I finally did it. I finally stopped dealing with FedEx, and I went back to Starlink, and I said, listen, they've obviously lost this thing at this point. And they said, well, let's give it another day, and let me try to contact them. And I said, okay. So they tried to contact FedEx. FedEx talked to them, and they said it'll be that we'll look for this, which means they didn't know where it was. We'll look for this, we'll find it, and we'll contact the customer and work with them. And they said you should hear something within 24 to 48 hours. Well, I waited for 2 more days, and still never heard anything from them. And the delivery date was getting updated, but kept bidding. It's like, okay, it's not here. So I said, it's been long enough now. Is there anything you could possibly do? And so they said, listen, we can't send you one overnight. We don't do overnight. It's just a Starlink policy that they don't do overnight shipments. And I said, okay. They said, but we will ship you a new device. We'll get it sent out and processed, and we will give you a nice credit for your first month of service. And so I had a bunch of free data that I can use for my first month of service beyond what you would typically have. It still took them about 24 hours to get it shipped and stuff like that. It still came via FedEx. And ironically, the day after FedEx said, you're going to get this second shipment, my first one showed up. And so I originally set up everything, my account with my first Starlink Mini, because I told him, I said, hey, the first one arrived. and do you mind if I activate with this? They said that's fine, go right ahead. And when the second one arrives, contacts us, we can have you send it to us. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Eventually, FedEx decided to deliver the second one. It still took about 7 to 10 days. Again, I none of this has anything to do with Starlink. It is all FedEx. FedEx is a mess in our area. So anyway, I had officially set up my original Starlink, my first Starlink Mini, and it worked fine. I just made sure that it was working. I didn't use it a whole lot. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be great for Tennessee. I'm good to go. And I bought a little case for it and all that stuff. Matter of fact, do you guys want to see? I think I can show you my Starlink Mini. Hold on. So if I go down here, close that, and it is not there. It is almost. Ah, you can't see it. There's a little table right there. Let me see if I can just move this over. There you go. There it is, sitting on the little table in the backyard. That's my Starlink Mini. All right, hilarious. Anyway, back to me on camera here. Still no comments on LinkedIn. Let me just refresh the page just to confirm. Yep, still nothing there. And I think I'm still up to date on comments on YouTube and Facebook. And okay, so yeah, we're on me here. Whoo, it's cold out here. It has warmed up to 38 degrees. By the way, heated blanket right here. Whoo. Glad I brought out my heated blanket. Is it? It had just turned off. It cycles off after a while, and I can tell when it has cycled off because it gets really, really cold. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so my second Starlink Mini finally arrives, and it's right before I'm coming down to Tennessee. And I didn't want to, I hadn't had a chance yet to set up a new support ticket with Starlink to start the what they call a RMA, a return merchandise whatever approval. And so I figured I'll deal with that when I get into Tennessee. So I threw the second Starlink Mini into the box when I was coming down here. Well, I got to that overpass in Gatlinburg, and I decided, okay, I'm going to try out my Starlink Mini, and I thought I would do my first live stream from my personal creative working retreat on Friday night or Friday late afternoon last week. And it was just not connecting. I'm like, what is going on here? And then I opened up the app and it said restricted. And I'm like, why would it say that? And then it says, do you want to activate? Do you want to go under this data plan that you're on? And I said, yeah. And it's like, well, okay, connect to the Starlink unit. I'm like, I am connected to the Starlink unit. Well, what I learned eventually is that they had, as soon as the second Starlink Mini showed it was delivered, Starlink's system automatically put my data plan onto the new device, the serial number under the new device. So I had the idea. It's like, okay, let me undo this box, pull the actual unit out, the satellite modem device or whatever. Let me pull it out, put the other one aside, and see if it works. And sure enough, it finally works. And it took a little bit to figure it out, to calibrate it, and all that other stuff. And by that time, it was too dark. It would have not made for a very decent live stream at all. I mean, it would have been fine for me to just do a live stream from the car, but I wanted to show the mountains. Oh my gosh, is that snow at the top of the mountains up there? I think that might be snow at the top of the mountains. Let me look over there. So go here and let me show you where I'm looking at. I'm pretty. Oh, that's not what I want. I want to go all the way in. I can't tell, or I can't tell, but I think that might be snow up there at the very top of the mountain. Anyway, the reason I'm gonna okay, so I already talked about the fact that I went out. They closed the road to the forest, Newfound Gap. Let's see here. Let's move me. We'll stay here. Where was I at? That's good enough. Um, let's see here. I have been curious about Starlink as a backup for scenarios like travel. Well, stick around, DJ. Thank you so much for that comment. By the way, that's comments are still coming through on LinkedIn. I have not seen any from Facebook or YouTube. And I do invite anyone who has questions about anything that I'm talking about today or anything that I'm not talking about today, feel free to post a comment. So Starlink, I got this second device out and hooked it up, and sure enough, it's working perfectly. And I'm like, okay, now I've got two devices, two of them are open, and everything. Starlink eventually, but it was too late. I decided to just do a little bit more amateur radio stuff, and then I headed back to the lake house. And my mom and dad got to the lake house with my son, who had ridden down with them, just 20 minutes after they got here, and they brought food, and we had food, and we pretty much, it was just hanging out with them that night. So that was my first full day down here. So, and it was day 2 of my retreat. So that's how that went. Now, what I will share since then is that Starlink had contacted me and say, hey, we noticed that you have received both of your units, thanks for letting us know. And also, I see that it's currently active on the second one. Is that the one you want to keep? And, just to confirm which one you will be returning, they gave me the sticker. I brought it with me because I didn't want to leave Stephanie with anything. I'm thrilled that I brought my second one because I wouldn't have had access to Starlink until I got through to them and had them transfer it over to the first unit again if I didn't bring it with me. And then I would have had to have Stephanie go through the trouble of finding a FedEx location and sending it back. But I packed up everything, duct taped it because we don't have packing tape down here at the lake house. But I did find some duct tape, duct taped it up, and I took it to FedEx. They printed the label for me and shipped it back to Starlink, the original one. Actually, no. Well, the original unit in the new unit box. But anyway, it's been taken care of. Now, let me just, for a brief moment, speak to you about Starlink and my experience with it. I think that it is an incredibly powerful service if you don't have any other options available. It does require a unobstructed view of the sky. And that may sound pretty easy, but it may be a bit more of a challenge than you might imagine. So, or than at least I imagined. And I'm going to look right here, and it says here, your Starlink has an unobstructed view of the sky. Starlink, its obstruction map will become more accurate as it collects more data. And this is my Starlink Mini app, and if you see any red dots, that red dot represents an obstructed view of a satellite. So far, this is the best that I've had so far. So there are 3 trees over there that obstructs just portions of the sky that way. There's the house over here that obstructs it, and it's not so bad, and I'm pretty sure everything's working just fine. Now, let me see how much data I've used right here just for this live stream. I've already used 2.95 gigabytes for this live stream here, right now. And that is, if you figure 50 gigabytes per month is what their Roam plan is. Now, it's 50 gigabytes It's $50 for 50 gigabytes. And you can opt in, and you have to actually opt in on the app before you hit your limit. Otherwise, you won't have access to the internet for them to do this if you're in a place where there's no cell connection. You can opt in for overage, which basically means that you will be charged $1 per gigabyte that you go over. So let's just say for instance, let's just say I'm already over 50 gigabytes for this month and I've paid $50. And let's just say right before I started this stream, I was right at my 50 gigabyte limit. Well, given the fact that I'm at 2.95 gigs right now since I've started this live stream, and actually I'm at 2.99 now that I check it again, given the fact that I'm at, and by the way, some of this is probably due to the fact that I'm streaming this on LinkedIn, and I wonder if I stop that. I need to figure out a way to get LinkedIn. You know what? I'm going to turn LinkedIn. I'm going to turn my iPad off. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn my iPad off, and I'm going to see if I can't pull up LinkedIn using my cell phone internet, because I have unlimited data on my phone. And let me just go into LinkedIn, and I wonder if I'll be able to monitor the comments from my phone. So bear with me 1 second. So profile, let's go to Cliff Ravenscraft, and my live stream should be down here. There I am, happening now. And so I'm going to click join the comments. Right there I am from my phone. Okay, so I've just turned it down. And the last comment that I see on here is I have been curious about Starlink as a backup and for scenarios like travel. So DJ, that's the last comment that I've seen. I'm going to just keep that unplugged for now and just set that right there. I'll turn my iPad off and see if new comments. If anybody's on LinkedIn and you want to leave a comment to help me test this out on my phone, because one of the things on my iPad, I have it hooked up to the Starlink as well. And so I'm streaming out this high bandwidth HD signal, and then I was receiving this high bandwidth, high HD signal on the thing. So I was actually doubling up my bandwidth. The only thing I don't like about Starlink is that I am bandwidth conscious. It's kind of like the idea that I hear a lot about with people with electric cars, that you have range anxiety. If you're going on large trips or whatever, it's like, am I going to be able to have enough battery to get to the next thing? And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, 50 gigabytes is going to be plenty. And then I'm thinking, well, no, I actually want to do quite a bit of live streams. I'm going to do a lot of Zoom calls. I still have my weekly mastermind group for entrepreneurs that I host every week. I have my weekly group coaching program for people who are aspiring or early stage entrepreneurs. I want to have a bunch of one-on-one coaching calls with individuals, both current clients and potential clients, while I'm down here. And I want to do live streams, and I want to record podcast episodes and upload those. And it's like, 50 gigabytes. So they do have, for the Starlink Mini, an unlimited roaming plan. If I'm not mistaken, and I have not looked at this because I don't plan on using this at home, but if I'm not mistaken, I think you can get a $120 a month plan that is unlimited if you are locked in at a specific address. So $120 a month. I think that would be a pretty decent plan, a decent option, especially if you have a completely unobstructed view of the sky. Now, one of the questions I have for any of you, if you're tuned in right now, let me just see if there's even anybody out there. So yeah, there's a handful. If anybody's there now, has my stream broken up? Has there been any dropped audio, dropped video? I'd love to hear from you what your experience has been since I've started this live stream. Of course, can go back and watch it later on the phone and scrub through on YouTube and see how it was. But if anybody wants to give me live feedback now, I don't see any comments on LinkedIn, but that's okay. So let's see here. Yeah, nothing's coming in right now. But the anxiety about bandwidth, it's like, well, they have an unlimited plan on Starlink for the Starlink Mini if you're roaming around and going to be in multiple locations and all that stuff. It's $160 a month for unlimited that way. And I'm like, well, okay. If that could be worth it on a time when I'm going down to the Smoky Mountains for 3 weeks. If it might have made sense for me to pay $160 to come down here and have unlimited bandwidth and not be concerned by any stretch of the imagination. And then I got to thinking of it. It's like, well, I wonder if I'd actually use 160 gigabyte or 160 gigabytes, because if I use anything, let's just say I use 140 gigabytes. Well, if I have the 50 gigabyte plan for $50 and then it's $1 per gigabyte afterwards, well, it'd be $140 for 140 gigs. So essentially, I would break even at $160. And so when it all is said and done, it's just how you think about your how much data you're using and all this other stuff. The speeds are pretty decent, I must say, and I'm happy with them. I I don't know how it would be on a Zoom call with the location I currently have. Like I said, the what I had just showed you on my phone, it was a much better unobstructed view of the sky. Very few red dots, if any, that were they were just very negligible. And I'm going to try this location for the next day or two or a couple of days and see if this actually works better. Because when I had it in the front of the house, there was quite a bit of obstructions on the sides, and I noticed that every few moments somebody's audio and video would just drop for a second. And it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't sufficient for what I desire to have when I'm facilitating a Zoom meeting. So, yeah, definitely. I do not see. Oh, okay. So DJ says there were a few drops at the beginning, but good now. Okay, thank you for letting me know. So that's why I'm saying. So it's not perfect. Again, I have not yet gone to a place where there is a completely unobstructed view of the sky, and there's, the horizon, you can see very far to the horizon and stuff like that. And if there was a completely unobstructed view to the sky, would I still experience the drops? I don't know. So what I would say is I don't think Starlink would be something that I would want to rely on for hosting a Zoom call or doing a live stream if there were other options available. If there are other options available, I would likely choose those before the Starlink. The other reason is because if it is raining very heavy, that can impede the signal and stuff like that, which would not be an issue with other options that might be available. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the Starlink Mini. Now, I've already been streaming for about an hour. And what I'll do is I'll just wrap up and share with you some final things here that are coming through. I'm just checking LinkedIn. It looks like I have to manually scroll up to see new comments pop up. And I don't see any new comments on YouTube or Facebook. So let's see here. Saturday and Sunday and Monday were Saturday and Sunday were all day kind of just hanging out with my mom and dad and or my son who were all down here. And we had some great times. On Saturday, we all went in to Knoxville, Tennessee. We went to this place called Main Event. My nephew and they went to this place called Main Event, and he wanted to take us, and so that's why we all went in. And we had an incredibly awesome time at main event. And that evening, my son and I watched a movie. He wanted to go see Sonic the Hedgehog 3 at the movie theater on Sunday. Not necessarily my choice of entertainment, but that's what he wanted. And he's like, "You want to watch the first two?" And so what I did is I found a way to hook up my USB-C to HDMI on my iPhone 16 Pro, which has unlimited data. And I hooked it up to the HDMI of the TV down here, and we watched Sonic the Hedgehog, the first movie, I think on Paramount Plus or one of the apps, on Saturday evening. Then on Sunday morning, we watched the second movie. And then that afternoon, we went to lunch at a steakhouse down here in Tennessee on Sunday afternoon in Pigeon Forge. And then Matthew and I spent the day in Gatlinburg, and we went to a retro arcade game in a retro arcade in Gatlinburg. It's called the Red Rocket Retro Arcade. The idea is that we would go there and play some old Donkey Kong and Miss Pac-Man and all that stuff. The Mix Pac-Man arcade game had a joystick that is absolutely the worst joystick I've ever played any video game with in my life. So that was terrible. I did not remember how terrible I was at Donkey Kong, and so that was unenjoyable. But they did have this arcade game that's not retro, but it's relatively new, that they also had at main event, and it was my favorite new arcade, like going and having an experience with another person. And it's this basketball. You shoot this basketball into, I think there are 5 or 6 hoops. There might be 6, and it's Connect Four, but with basketballs. And Connect Four, if you're just playing the game and you drop the little checker pieces into the little sections, I mean, there's a little bit of strategy with that, but it's kind of like checkers to me. It's like there's not a lot of deep thought that goes into this. But with playing Connect Four and shooting for the bet, there's skill involved, because it's how good are you at aiming that for that shot. And you might actually be like, I only need this one spot to fill, and you shoot and you miss it by a millimeter, and it bounces off and goes over into another one, and it just makes it a whole lot more enjoyable. The other thing is that the credits on these things, there's no rush. It's not like you get a timeout and you don't get time to finish the game. It's like you could keep going with this game between you and one other person head to head in this basketball / Connect Four game. And I'm like, until every single slot's full, or until one of you have 4 in a row. Lots of fun. Anyway, after that, we walked down the strip of Gatlinburg. I made my son go into more t-shirt shops than he would desire, but I love going into t-shirt shops and just reading the different types of t-shirts, seeing the different designs. I'm a huge fan of buying like t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. I got this new hoodie from Pigeon Forge down here. I got a new Smoky Mountains one, and yeah, it's just lots of fun. And then we went and saw Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in the movie theaters. I really, quite frankly, Jim Carrey made the movie fun, and all of them were somewhat enjoyable. They are what they were, but yeah. So had a great time. It was an awesome day with my son. We stopped and went into Walmart to buy some games. I bought a pack of playing cards. I bought a deck of Uno, and I bought the board game Ticket to Ride. My son-in-law and my daughter had that game the last time we were down here in Tennessee at the lake house all together. And Stephanie and I played with Megan and Jacob, and I loved the game. And so I said, "Hey, Matthew, do you want to play?" He had never played. We bought the game, brought it home, and we played one game before we went to bed. Actually, no, we played 2 games before we went to bed on Sunday night. And then Monday morning, we played 1 game in the morning, and my dad played. And they all left at 1 o'clock to drive back home to northern Kentucky. So I've been down here all by myself. since Monday afternoon around 1 o'clock or so. And I'm just thinking, what is today? Today's Thursday. So after that, I kind of just chilled out the rest of the day, kind of just took it easy, did a little bit of email inbox kind of stuff, just getting my bearings, unpacking and doing a little bit of, just it's like, okay, taking up more space, if you will, in my setup, getting Starlinks out and set up and all that other thing, all of those other things. Tuesday morning, actually Monday morning, I got up at no, Monday was Tuesday morning was my first morning where I'm like, okay, it's time for me to come down here and do what I came down to do, which one of the things I came down to do, which is to establish these new routines. I want to actually establish the early morning routine. I'd been getting up at 5:30 every morning. I wanted to shift that to 5 p.m. I wanted to start getting in bed, and if I'm down here, I have the ability to do so. So I've been going to bed at 8 p.m. Now, I probably don't get to, sleep or lay down and to actually go to sleep until 9 p.m. But still, it's so awesome to just have that freedom to do that and to get into that rhythm. I've been getting up every morning since Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. I intend to get up at 5 a.m. every morning, 7 days a week. So tomorrow is Friday, and that's weekday. But even the last couple of weeks, and actually last couple of months that I've had my early morning routine at 5:30 in the I've been getting up at 5:30. I had not been getting up in the morning, early in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays. I've been sleeping in on those days. One of the things that I intend to do differently is I want to have an early morning routine 7 days a week. I want my day to start at 5 a.m., not 5:30. So those are things that I'm setting intentions for and getting into patterns of doing while I'm down here, and that way, when I get back home, I know that I can carry those out. They'll be just the normal rhythms. I'll just need to apply it into the new environment. One of the things that I intend to do when I get back home is I want to redesign my studio and office space. I don't want it to be set up in the same place, in the same fashion that it was before. So I want to break up that environment so that I can bring my new routines and new rhythms and have some different. I don't want my subconscious mind to be triggered back into old patterns based upon those environments being the same as they were. So when I go back, I'm going to change them, change the environment. I'm going to change the design and the layout of the space and where I work and what I do and all this stuff. But I'm going to create all of those rhythms and routines here, and then try to find a way to transport everything that's working for me when I get back home. So that's what I plan on doing. I am absolutely fully committed to ketogenic lifestyle again. This is some I've been having a very incredible renaissance, if you will. Is that the right phrase? But a renewal with my health and fitness ever since April of this year. The pandemic really threw me off. I know exactly what happened in that area, but I have really taken a significant turn back towards what had worked for me for many years. I think it was 6 years straight. I was working out 6 days a week or more, sometimes 7 days, and sometimes many hours a day. I was working out 6 to 7 days a week, every week. I was eating healthy, and I did that for 6 years straight until they closed the gym. And then I just got out of that rhythm and routine, and my focus and shift went somewhere else. And it was good to get back into it, but not, I never have yet fully committed to some of the, I don't want to say extremes, but the depths is what I want to say. The depths that I was committed to before. Like I said, early morning routine. Yeah, but not the weekends. Going to the gym. Yeah, weekdays, but not Saturday and Sunday. I'll just go out for a walk on Saturday and Sunday. It's like, no, okay, let's ramp this up. Let's get back to the way that was giving me the experience of life in my physical body that I desired. And I'm talking about both the level of intensity of my workouts, the number of days per week going back to 6 or 7, and also my early morning routines and the foods that I'm eating for energy levels. All of that are things that I have been implementing, and it's been a lot easier to get that focused after my parents and Matthew had left. And so that's kind of been what I've been doing. Let's see here. Tuesday, I had a morning accounting meeting with Stephanie. We do our bookkeeping and accounting once a month, every month. It was interesting, the situation that arisen out of that, and that kind of was a little bit out there. So some great things happen, some unexpected things happen, and it's just amazing how things all work out. It's also amazing how, just old thinking patterns can still crop up and get triggered from time to time. And I'm like, okay, this isn't. This is an old way of thinking, and I'm like, yeah, it's just not that big of a deal. And it turned out to be not that big of a deal. It wasn't even a big a deal. Anyway, I don't want to go into details, except that it was an interesting scenario that kind of came up, and yeah, learning experience for sure. Anyway, Tuesday afternoon, there's a guy down there with some sort of blower. I don't have no idea what he's doing down there, but that's okay. I'm about ready to wrap this thing up. What would a neighbor be doing down there? I have no idea. Anyway, I don't even know if you guys can hear it. I imagine you can hear it. It's very annoying, but that's okay. Anyway, back to the things that I'm doing. So this week I am establishing the new routines. I have on Tuesday I had a group coaching call. Yesterday I had my mastermind call, weekly mastermind call. I'm really distracted by that over there. Hold on one second. I want to see what this is. All right. At least I now know what it is. It is a next door neighbor blowing leaves out of the rocks that divide the property line where the rainwater goes down. Anyway, it's very interesting. So, yeah, had my group coaching call, had my mastermind call yesterday. I had a couple of connect calls scheduled yesterday. So a lot of scheduled stuff. Today, completely no scheduled no scheduled calls with anybody that I had to be at a special place at a special time today. I don't have any tomorrow. I don't have anything Saturday or Sunday or even next Monday. There are some things that I need to do with Stephanie that will come up, but those are very flexible of what time we do them. And I have until next Tuesday afternoon before anything else comes up. And so I have a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility to create all of the things that I want to create here during these next few days. No scheduled commitments for anything anywhere. So lots of freedom, lots of flexibility, and lots of intentionality about asking myself, okay, what do I want to do right here, right now? And no matter where I'm at, there is no preset pattern of what I'm doing. Now, let's just see here. There is a couple of new comments here. So Darren came in, says, Happy New Year, Cliff Ravenscraft. Happy New Year, Darren. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the comment. And let's see here. Mr. Espresso says, jumping in after finishing work. Greetings from Germany. Train with Cliff subscriber here. I'm also evaluating habits, routines, and fitness goals Seems to be a beautiful place as seen in the window reflections. And just so if you're still there, that is what it looks like off in the distance. It's absolutely gorgeous here. And then he says, "Oh, is it cold there?" And yes, it is absolutely freezing here. And let me turn that back over. It is 8 degrees above freezing Fahrenheit. And so I have this big heated blanket on. I don't know that I'll do a whole lot more live streams from this back deck. I seriously don't understand the blowing the leaves off of the rocks. But hey, to each his own. Hey, thank you guys so much. I will be doing more live streams. I don't know if they'll be like just impromptu like this, or if I'll have topics, or if I'll give more advanced ahead of time. But I really do appreciate you guys being out there. Mr. Espresso says beautiful. Thank you so much. It is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to sit back and enjoy the rest of the day. I'm eager to find out how well this live stream did. I'll be able to replay it and see how the Starlink Mini did on the internet. Let's see here. Let's take a look real quick before I used 4.16 gigs here. So Mr. Espresso says negative 13 Celsius. Is that what it is in Germany right now? Is that what you're saying? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Many blessings to you all. Happy New Year. If any of you are out there and you've made it all the way to the end, or you just tuned in to the live stream or whatever, if you are looking for significant change in your life in 2025, if you are looking to break free from limiting patterns that are holding you back, patterns of emotions, patterns of thoughts, patterns of actions or behaviors that are keeping you from experiencing what you most want to create in the world. If you are looking to set new goals, maybe some people call them resolutions. I'm a huge goal setter myself. I like to create intention about what I want to do in the world and what I want to create and how I want to show up and who I want to be, what I want my relationships to be like, what I want to experience in my physical body, all of that stuff. If there's anything that you're setting your mind and sights on in 2025 and you've struggled with them in the past, and you've ever thought, maybe hiring a coach might be something that I should consider, or that I could consider. I don't like the word should, but maybe you've thought about the possibility of working with a coach. I want to let you know that I would be delighted to chat with you. All you have to do is email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and I would love to talk to you about what that might look like. And if you are an entrepreneur and you're out there feeling a little isolated when it comes to the decisions you make related to your business, I would love to invite you to check out nextlevelmastermind.info, not .com, but .info, nextlevelmastermind.info, and learn a little bit about the Next Level Mastermind and what it might have as an opportunity for you. There's a video that talks about the benefits of being in a mastermind group. I think there might even be 2 videos on that on sales page. But anyway, lots of details there. I would love to engage with any of you. Just feel free to reach out to me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level. Bye-bye.